Hey guys, I'm Steve Dangle. It's late June 2009. It's a gorgeous day outside. The sky is blue. It's about 30 degrees Celsius, so it's nice and hot. And I cannot think of a better thing to do on a beautiful day like this than talk hockey. And of course, we're leading up to the NHL Entry Draft in Montreal, which is literally just a few hours away. And I know you guys have been asking me a lot about John Tavares. Well, we're here in his old stomping grounds in Oshawa, Ontario, at the General Motors Center. And who can tell us more about him than a former coach? Stay with me for this next Steve Dangle exclusive. Well, the NHL Entry Draft is just literally hours away, and I'm here with the head coach and general manager of the Oshawa Generals, Chris DePiero, to give us a little insight. Chris, you're actually heading to Montreal in just a few minutes. How are you getting there?
We're driving down. Myself and our assistant coaches are going to go down actually some point today, and we want to get into the coaches conference tomorrow, and then enjoy the first round on Friday night.
It's kind of a long drive. What's going to be in the tape deck, I wonder?
Little Bruce Springsteen, Little Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, good stuff. Any favorite songs?
I'm a huge fan of the Boss.
Now, looking just beyond the draft for a second, you were recently named assistant coach for the Hlinka Memorial. That's under 18 tournament for Team Canada. What can you tell fans out there looking forward to the tournament?
Well, certainly it's the precursor, the beginning for the Team Canada for the national program, for national junior program. Identification of these players allows Team Canada to identify these players for potential World Junior inclusion. So it's a great tournament. It's it's in the summer. It comes up in August. Certainly a lot of great players have gone through it, and as I said, as a precursor to the World Juniors in terms of their inclusion in the program of excellence for Hockey Canada.
Well, speaking of the World Juniors, and I'm sure you knew it was coming, I think you've talked more about a former player than any other coach in history, but unfortunately I do have to ask you about John Tavares. But I wonder, we don't really know exactly if he's going to go first, second, third, but I wonder, how will it feel to you if they go the New York Islanders select or the Tampa Bay Lightning select, and all they say is from the London Knights, John Tavares? Is that going to sting a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly John has meant a lot to the city of Oshawa, to the Oshawa Generals organization, to the Durham region in general, because of the type of person he's been in terms of his community involvement, with Special Olympics locally here for the 3.5 years. So for John, if the teams do say just the London Knights, certainly it will sting a bit, but that's something that we'll have to deal with.
And certainly for hockey fans out there that have been doing their little research before the draft, John Tavares might be the most highly scouted prospect in history, certainly one of them, regardless of what people think about him. But I wonder, you have an intimate knowledge of him. What's something you can tell us about him that most people don't know?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is what I saw from Johnny specifically this season was the fact that his leadership skills are off the charts in terms of his off-ice preparation for his on-ice game, but his off-ice inclusion of his teammates. And not a lot of 18-year-old so-called superstars are always like that. And John, in my estimation, has always been a person who's always wanted to just be a regular 18-year-old kid, and he's always been, as I use the term, inclusionary of his teammates, and that to me is shows a lot of leadership and maturity. And earlier in the season, we sent the guys a team bonding kind of at the beginning of the year to a Blue Jay game, and so when I had contacted the Blue Jays about getting group tickets, and I just said we were just a group coming down, and then they wanted to know the name of the group because they always post it up on the Jumbotron, so I included it. I said, okay, it's the Oshawa Generals coming down, and they said, is John Tavares coming? And I had said, yes, John Tavares is coming. He's part of our team. He's our captain. So then they said, okay, great. And then I got a call about 10 minutes later where they said they wanted John to throw out the first pitch that night. And so I talked to Johnny, and he said, absolutely, but I want my teammates to come on the field with me. And that's something where I mean, people don't necessarily always know that. Like you say, that they see him on the ice. People are, scouting him and formulating opinions about him as a person, as a player, without really getting to know him in his entirety. And so from that perspective, I mean, that was to me is an example of the type of person he is.
And one criticism that I do hear very often of JT is that his skating is not up to par with most players of his caliber. Why would you say is his skating not a problem?
Well, I think first, to answer the question properly, I think people look at it, and his skating's he's not a blazing speed kind of guy. However, he's probably one of the strongest stride skaters in terms of his overall stride, because of his strength in his legs. He recognized that deficiency in his own game last season, and to his credit, on his own, worked with a power skating instructor last summer, and I thought improved his skating immensely. I thought she did a very good job with just his efficiency of his stride, but I don't see him being affected by that, because I think a player of John's stature, in terms of his willingness to be a hockey player, far outweighs any kind of deficiency that people may find, and plus his talent and skill set. Once you're involved, and I think once you're in an environment on a daily basis like you would be in the NHL, he'll adapt very quickly because of his ability to adapt. His hockey sense, his hockey smarts, all those kind of things are very much above average, let's say, which compensates, I think, for any kind of deficiency that people may perceive that he has.
If he doesn't go first overall, how do you think he will react?
Oh, I think he'll be fine. I think, as I said, this year, right from the beginning, I think in his mind, the finish line was becoming in sight for him. But I also think he's always been of the mindset he's going to control what he can control. And I think that's where his mindset's at. It's a draft, and he understands that, and he's going to control what he can control. And if he goes first, he goes first. If he goes second, he goes second, or wherever he goes. I think he's going to be pretty excited to have the opportunity to have his name selected and play in the NHL.